Cool haircut. Okay, thank you. Hello from Canada. Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. Things seem quite stable. I'm going to ask one more question. All see me, all hear me okay? Hi. Okay, sure. Just nice and clear here in Belgium. Great. Thank you. Okay. Hello. Okay, guys. Right, so we had the long-awaited press conference today, 22nd, well, what, 4th of October 2022. And I've been getting loads of messages. I actually wanted to do a sort of reaction video on this, meaning what I wanted to do was I wanted to sort of replay the video and then react to it. But then I just thought, let's do something different because I haven't done a live stream in a long time. So I thought it would be quite nice to kind of just get your thoughts on it. And I must say, it's really hotting up here. So the messages are just flying across here. Certainly, a lot of the messages I got today, I got absolutely bombarded before and afterwards on every social media platform. Everyone was asking, everyone was sending their comments, asking me, what do I think, and what a lot of people said what they thought. And although I think reviews were mixed, and as they usually are, I think the overall sort of general vibe was a little bit of underwhelm, and I think people were, I don't want to say disappointed, but I'll give you my opinions on this in a moment. I'm just sort of going through what your feedback was and the people in the community. It just seems as though this press conference, it just left a lot to be desired, I think is the saying. There was a lot of anticipation about this. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we as a human race have just been through hell. Some more than others. I don't want to, be facetious or anything, but I just think we as humanity have just been through a hard time, with COVID and everything now. Now we've got, the threat of war and all kinds of things like that. And I don't want to make it depressing, but, this is the world we live in. And there was all this talk with Depeche Mode, obviously. They're not a very in-your-face kind of band. They're very different to a lot of artists these days that are. Remember, the way you broadcast these days is you've got to kind of be in people's face all the time. But Depeche Mode, we're used to them kind of, they appear every 4 years. They do an album and they disappear for another 4 years and then they come back. And that's kind of their thing. So when COVID started, this really disrupted their 4-year period. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is it's been a long time since. And then there was the tragic passing of Andy Fletcher, which really just pulled out the rug from under all our feet. No one saw that coming. And the strange thing about that is if you had, I would have, not to get morbid, but you would have thought, Dave was really the one who would have probably have gone first because, he really lived life hard and, thank God he's still well and everything. But it was just a shock. Anyway, I am sort of going to come to my, give you my sort of opinions on this at the moment. As I say, I haven't had much time to digest it, but I just thought I'd give you my initial opinions on that. I'm just looking up some of the comments popping up here now that they've stopped moving. Oh, there they go again. A lot of the comments were on the interviewer. They said the interviewer was poor. Some people felt that she wasn't. Okay, someone says she was a disaster. Thanks, guys. So interviewing, it can be quite difficult, and it's something I wasn't particularly good at in the beginning myself. But it comes with confidence, and I think the art of giving a good interview, and I'm not lecturing here. I just found what I find to be the art of a good interview is to know enough about your subject, but at the same time, you must also be curious enough. This is why I've seen many interviews with Depeche Mode and many bands. Let's take Depeche Mode. I've seen interviews with Depeche Mode where I get really annoyed because it's clear that the interviewer doesn't know who the band is, have got no interest, and they just paid to do the interview. So coming back to this interviewer here, I think it left a lot to be desired. It was just, and I think let's just come into my feelings on this now that we've got a full house. I found this interview to be underwhelming, a little bit awkward. I think there were moments where Martin looked a little bit awkward, but then again, that's Martin, because when I met him, if you guys watched that video when I met Martin Gore, he does sometimes look a bit awkward, but that's probably because I was like a big fanboy. But definitely there were moments in this interview when he was talking and this interviewer kind of spoke over him, and Martin's not a very dominant, he's a very gentle guy, so I'm the kind of person, when you talk over me, I talk louder and I kind of push, I'm that kind of person. Martin's a more kind of, he'll stop and he'll, and that does happen in conversation where you talk, sometimes two people talk at the same time, but I just think the interview started off quite awkwardly when I think the very first question, if I remember correctly, was something like, what was it like to be back in the studio again? I was like, really? Is that your opening question? Okay. I thought, okay, that's fine. So, first things first, this interview was kind of like, it was really rushed. It was like 20, I think the video, there's a video that's gone up of the whole recording, which is about 29 minutes. But the whole interview itself it's not even 25 minutes. It really was a case of blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. And it was disappointing because, let's face it, we've not heard from the band for years. And then they started dropping those photos on the Facebook group, on the Facebook page recently, like of the microphone and then the mixing console. And that was all very teasy and intentional. And also, and then there was all this kind of misinformation that was coming out, like rumors of, is there an album? Now, I don't know. I said, if you guys watched the video I put up recently, I said this could have well been part of their marketing strategy, because they've got some brilliant marketing behind them. The marketing team may have decided, okay, part of the marketing strategy is we're going to leak information out. And that was brilliant, because weeks before this happened, we were all, debating this online. There were people shouting at each other on forums going, this is fake news and all kinds of crap. And we didn't know what was happening. But I think we know these days there's no such thing as bad publicity. Any publicity is good. So whether that was their strategy or not, whether it was deliberate leaking of stuff to make it look like it was leaked, I don't know. But whether it was or whether it wasn't, here we are talking, and it was all very, very exciting. What really got me was the day before the press conference, which was yesterday. We had posters appearing everywhere, and people were announcing what the album's name was called and everything. And I was like, how has this been leaked? I mean, who leaked it and how has it been leaked? Once again, that could have been part of their marketing strategy, that it was apparently leaked. I don't know. It's fascinating, and we'll never know the truth, or we may. So when the interviewer started interviewing, and she said, Martin, you jump in, and Martin started. First things first, I was going, God, the sound is bad. And I had to turn it up really loud. And anyway, he says, as he's struggling with his live stream, the sound was just really, really bad, and I just wanted a bit of showmanship. It was like they were filming in this great big building, and and they took a photo of it yesterday to show where they're going to do it, and it didn't matter where they were, because they may as well have been in the back of a transit van or an ice cream truck, because it didn't matter where they were, because they were in the dark, on the stage, and I would have liked to have seen a bit of more showmanship when they came in, not from the band, but just, ta-da, maybe I'm in Las Vegas, maybe I'm being cheesy, I don't know. It just, we've been waiting so long for this, so they come in there, and I think, they could have at least given us an hour. It was just like, she was like rushing through it, and then she said, okay, Martin, you start. Martin started talking, and then he said, ha, ha, ha. We haven't heard that for a long time. some good Martin laughs. Martin comes in, starts talking, and he says, "This album's called," and she went, "No," she cut him off, and she went, "We haven't announced that yet." And I went, "Yeah, you haven't announced it, but we all know it. It was leaked yesterday." Jesus. Anyway, so she kind of cut Martin's flow there, and there's a few times where, you know, he was cut off again, and it sounds like I'm attacking the interviewer. I'm not. I'm just saying, I did notice this, and there were a few times if we watch this back, Martin just looked a little bit awkward. I just think the questions weren't good. I mean, you know, and I really don't mean this egotistically. I'm just saying, if I did it, and this, you know, it could have been, you know, I could have done it and it could have been a disaster. All I'm saying is, if I was doing it, I would have just gone in and said something like, "Dave Martin, hey man, it's so good to see you guys. How are you, man? You know, this is so exciting." And, you know, I would have probably been a little bit fanboyish, but sometimes you need that. There was just a lack of enthusiasm here. It was so, you know, you want to see someone going, "Hey man, it's good to see you. I'm so sorry about Fletch." A lot more emotional, because this was a very, very emotional time. You know, I expected the press conference to be a lot more emotional. And I don't know what I was expecting, but, you know, maybe just, I don't know. It just felt really awkward, very cold, very sterile, very rushed. And then there was a few, questions from the audience, and then about 4 questions, and then they said, "Okay, one more question," and there was like, "It's over," and I'm like, "Really? We got to be somewhere? Why?" I mean, the previous press conferences I saw were usually about, you know, at least an hour, and they got a good few questions in. I don't know. I think so far as Dave and Martin, I'm pleased to see they haven't changed. You know, they look fantastic. They look, hey man, they're multimillionaires. They live a good life. But yeah, they looked well, and they pretty much looked the same to me as what they looked. You know, they seem to look the same as they did 5 years ago. You know, but I don't know. There was just a lack of emotion here. It was just a bit flat to me. And I don't blame the band. I blame the organizers, and I just blame. It was just, come on, man. You could really have done more, really. So that's really my honest feeling. Then, of course, before it started, they played some audio clips from the songs, which was that 2020. So that was in that period. So he was actually writing, and we did decide that it would be a good idea that Martin was actually working on stuff. And I mean, I myself, and I hate to talk about myself when we're talking about Depeche Mode, but I finished my album during lockdown, and I know a lot of people who did a lot of creative stuff during lockdown. And for some reason we were thinking, why is Depeche Mode not working during lockdown? We just seemed to think that was the case, but they were indeed. They were working during lockdown, and it seems as though, as I say, we're getting a full album now, which is called Memento Mori, which is Latin for "Remember that you must die," which is a very dark subject, actually. But then again, Depeche Mode have never been, light-hearted about their subject matter. And so I just want to sort of talk about the music they played before before they started off the conference with playing a bit of music. Just listening to it initially, I was actually out and about, and I was listening to it on my phone with headphones, and it sounded big, it sounded epic, and there was like an intro. It sounded very sort of abstract, and it just sounded great. I thought it sounded great. And then they launched into some kind of song, which was more like a song, probably a feature track or one of the album tracks. And this sounded very upbeat. And I thought, yeah, this is very different to what we got from Spirit. And I think I've been very vocal. I mean, although I'm in the middle of my Depeche Mode album review series, which has been going on for a long time, we're releasing Songs of Faith and Devotion in November. Struggle to connect with that album. It's probably, to me, my least favorite album of the Depeche Mode catalog. So anyway, so hearing the audio clips today before this press conference, I really liked that intro. It was like, I really, really liked it. But then they went into like a song, which is kind of like an album track, or which is clearly a track. The first part of music was clearly a like an intro or something. But then there was a song, something to do with heaven, and it was I was surprised because it sounded very upbeat. It sounded very positive, and I thought, okay, and I was okay. I was like, right, that sounds alright. Actually, it certainly sounded better than anything I was. Opinions and stuff on that. So okay, guys. Now, so I don't know how much of this you've actually caught, but yeah, we're having some technical trouble here today. I do apologize about that. I'm going to have to get this sorted. I've just not been at the top of my game recently. I've just got too much on my plate, and so anyway. But I think I've basically said what I. Oh, they're all saying I'm back now. God, I don't know. I think I've basically said more or less what I wanted to say. I wasn't blown away. It wasn't terrible. The band, I just found the questions, and it was just disappointing. I just think this video will go up now, and I'll probably just go through it and see how much is audible and how much has been glitchy and stuff. And if it's too bad, I'll probably just release a video with me just reacting. I apologize for this. I just haven't live streamed a long time. So I just want to quickly end with, if you're in the London area, or even if you're not, we've got people flying from all over the world. We're having a very, very exciting Depeche Mode night here in October, the 17th here in London. And it's a meet and greet with Brian Griffin and Gareth Jones, and we are going to be giving away some prizes. Gareth Jones is going to be doing a live performance as well, so you can find information to that beneath in the links below here, and it's all over my social media. So we've got quite a few people flying in from Europe and America for that. It's going to be very, very exciting. So yeah, if you've got any questions, let me know. Keep your comments coming. I'm probably going to end this live stream now because I'm getting a lot of stuff popping up here, and I